Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 106, Get Back to Work, recorded on Thursday, July 6, 2020. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the news.
All right, well, we're going to start with Backstage. Got a couple little things here. They have added a new thing called Backstage OnAir, which allows you to host virtual events. Kind of cool, but I've kind of gone through and looked at it. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but my guess is that they've either bolted on, what do you think, Showtime or Meetings? They've already bolted on Meetings, so I don't know what they've done here.
I think it's probably Showtime to kind of manage the webinars.
Yeah, they've got some, they've done some custom things here, so I have not looked at it yet, but it's highly needed, and this is something that I think a lot of people with CRMs, a lot of businesses are needing this kind of thing. It's just they've got to be able to put these things on, and they're doing events, and this is a way of hosting them. I'm going to really be interested to play with this. This actually dropped on the day of this show, so we haven't really had time to play with it, but looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen a big uptick amongst our clients in webinar marketing, and kind of just this whole notion of, provide some free content, put it out there, let people get used to speaking to you and kind of, get to know what value you can bring. Previously a lot of this would have been done in person, kind of with conferences or events or things like that. But, given the times, things like this that allow us to have those same events and get a lot of those same benefits remotely is really nice to have.
Yeah, and then they also have a full listing, kind of at the very bottom of this. They talk about all of their product listings, so I found this as well. So here's all of the Zoho Backstage updates for July as well. And it's, OnAir, the integration we talked about with Zoho Meeting a few weeks ago, activity logs. We've really covered every single one of these, but this is everything that really happened with Backstage in the month of July as well. So if you're a Backstage user, we've got a link in the show notes for that as well. They continue to do some amazing development on that product, and we have been looking on our webinars. The problem we've had with Showtime, and we do need to revisit it, Tyler, has always been recordings.
Yep.
Right. But you also have Zoho Meetings, which has webinars. That's just been a little bogged down, but I feel like Zoho has really stepped up their game during COVID because virtual meetings and virtual events are just a much. So be curious to take a look at that, take a look at Backstage, and see if one of those can't necessarily replace basically Zoom webinars, which is what we've been using so far, right?
Yeah, and we've been using Zoom webinars for stability because the quality is always good and the recordings are solid. But honestly, I mean, point for point, I'd rather use Showtime. The ability to have both of us controlling the slides. I think the QA functionality looks a little cleaner. The UI is just really great for it. That being said too, when we first were kind of using it, it was in the uptick, kind of near the beginning of lockdown times when, Showtime and Meeting were probably getting hit the hardest. So I think, with we've reported on it a couple times with them building out more infrastructure behind those apps. It might be the perfect time to jump back over there.
Yeah, be nice it would save us. I think we pay $140 a month for Zoom webinars, so that would be a nice little savings as well. And also staying on Backstage, in this article on where they're talking about this OnAir new feature, they talk about the fact that they have recently launched a events blog called The Green Room. And they say recent, but there's no dates on these blogs, but there's a lot of blogs here. So I'm not sure if they've just grabbed stuff from, all the blogs they've done over a period of time, or if they're really writing this. Most of these blogs do not appear, though, anywhere, like on the Zoho blog. So they're covering marketing and analytics and management, all of the various different things that it takes to kind of run an event and what you need to do to run an event. So it's a nice blog dedicated specifically to events and running events.
Yeah, that's really cool. It almost reminds me of some of the stuff that HubSpot does with their different blog teams for their different types of applications and segments that they run. I'd love to see something like this from the CRM team too, kind of like sales or sales engineering blog, kind of around all the different related topics. Not always things that are specifically about their application, but just about, the space in which that application fits. So it's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think so. And it's one of those things, with Zoho, you just never know sometimes where you find this stuff as you're kind of going through and looking for it. And now kind of a big one. So Zoho launched yet another new product. This is actually the first of two that we're going to talk about on the show. It's called Zoho BackToWork. I just don't know how to feel about this. I think it's extremely necessary, but boy, is it a sign of our times. Really, this is an application that your HR department will use to manage letting your employees come back to work. Everything that they have to do, the self-check-in, contact tracing, temperatures,
Logs.
masks, every single thing. Yes, announcements. There's a wellness module. There's just so much. We'll go into this detail. We've actually made this the app of the week, so we'll talk about this a little more in detail. But it's well thought out. It's a creator application, by the way. So if you go, it's basically done in Zoho Creator, and if nothing else, it shows the power of Zoho Creator because it is a really well done app.
Yeah, I mean, it's really end to end. They definitely did their homework here and kind of thought through all of the key things that you're going to need to manage when you start bringing people back into the office. And it's a perfect use case for a creator because all of this stuff is form and submission based, and that's really where Creator excels. Right, so it's basically giving people the ability to log all this different information, then for your HR department or admin to be able to then report on it and see it in aggregate. So, they definitely crossed all their T's, dot all their I's with this. It might be built inside of Creator, but it's a standalone product here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I will say, when you set it up, it specifically asks you how many offices you have. And then at each one of those branches, it wants to know that when a person is coming into work, will it be at a kiosk? And this is part, if you remember a few weeks ago, they talked about their self-check-in kiosks that they did. So will they be checking in at a kiosk on an iPad or a tablet? Or will they be checking in with the receptionist? Then the whole procedures change around that. There's a lot to it. We'll talk about it a little later on in the show. But wow, I mean, I don't think this was thrown together, quite frankly. They've got they've crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's with this application.
And it looks like they're going to be hosting it out there for free until the end of the year. And then from there, it'll be $2 per user per month to use Zoho BackToWork.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And then kind of following up on that, they have yet another new product, and it's called Zoho ToolKit. This is really for email administrators, people setting up email. I know it's going to be super helpful for us. It's a simple little down and dirty application that allows you to just go in and type in any domain, find out where their DNS servers are, find out what their MX records are, their SPF, their DKIM, make sure that they're all properly set up so that mail delivery will happen. So you can even analyze message headers. If you're having some issues there, you can cut and paste. There's just a ton you can do with this application. It had to have, been, I don't know, this must have been an internal thing that was needed. Somebody built it and they just decided to push it out.
Yeah, that sounds kind of right. I mean, it's probably a debugging tool that they might use, right? So that they can just gather info on any, if anyone reports they're having an issue with their domain, because you can actually register with Zoho and host your domain there for Zoho mail usage. So it's probably an internal tool that they decided, hey, people will probably get some use out of this, and especially for us because we end up being engaged with so many different people and their domains, right? There's often a question of, okay, we'll get your DKIM set up, but where are you hosted? Right. And sometimes it'll be at GoDaddy, but maybe you've transferred it to Wix, or maybe you've moved it over here. It's kind of a game of cat and mouse sometimes, tracking down exactly where your domain's managed.
Well, and I think, the average person out there, there's no reason for them to know, okay, I bought it at GoDaddy or somewhere else, but, somebody then moved our domain name servers over, like you say, to Wix or Bluehost or whatever. They didn't leave the domain. So, and most of the time what we're trying to track down is not where you bought the thing, right? Not who you paid to register your domain, but where are those DNS servers sitting, so we can find out, and make the changes we need to make. So it's going to be a useful tool for us. So kudos Zoho And then we've got Zoho Notebooks, just a ton of updates. Still can't link to a note to a CRM, Tyler, but
One
a
day.
lot of good updates here.
Yeah, so one of the things they added in was the ability to create tables inside of your little text cards. So they've added this across platforms, so you should be able to do this on the browser as well as on mobile. Be able to just basically create a little table to use inside of any of your notes. Super slick functionality. I mean, just the more different ways that you can organize yourself when you're working in a note-taking tool, the better, right? So that's definitely a big one to have.
Yeah, this merging note cards is huge. I love that because I oftentimes get a couple notes. It's just nice to be able just to merge a couple together. So, yep. And then you can now export data as well.
Just pretty slick.
Yeah.
Kind of just a myriad of little updates here. Better sorting and filtering for looking at all your different note cards. It's pretty slick updates. I mean, Notebook has always been a nice tool. I mean, the UI is gorgeous. I think it's one of the better looking note-taking tools that you can use.
Yeah.
I play with it on and off. I think we always mention it that, the final thing that'll get me using this every day is just being able to tie it to the CRM. But these are all awesome updates for them to roll out.
Yeah, maybe we're different, but I don't think we are. I think most people that are going to be using Zoho Notebook are going to want to create a note, a beautiful note, and have it, and then associate it with an account, a record, a contact, a deal, maybe multiple things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would be fantastic, and do that. So hopefully soon, but they keep rolling out the updates, baby. So, and speaking of which, this is kind of cool. Zoho CRM has added some new workflows. So I guess a few months ago, they added in email workflows. They just kind of appeared.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know. Was it more than a couple of months ago?
They were announced a while back, and then they rolled them out for beta users and partners. And then, without really much of a, no hoopla, they kind of just rolled them out for everyone else. Right. I just saw them show up in our clients' accounts one day.
And they're game changers. They really are game changers. The ability to do that. So, well, now they've kind of done it again. So in CRM, we now have new workflows for Facebook and Twitter. And I know you kind of played around with this quickly on the back end here to take a look at it, but what do you got?
Yeah, so it's pretty slick. Basically, what they're allowing you to do is, if you have someone who is in your CRM who you have connected out to a social media profile, now I would assume it's going to run through the Zoho social integration here. So you probably have a prerequisite of getting that dialed in with your CRM. And basically when you get a comment from that person, when that person writes a post or likes a post or even sends you a message, you can define some actions that you want to take back to that user, right? So for example, you could have a little pre-canned message that goes out to anyone that sends you a Facebook message, or, you could be tracking and, notifying your social media team if one of your subscribers makes a new post, right? So maybe you can go and check that out and engage with it if it's something that's fitting for your brand. So it's a pretty slick little tool where you're actually able to manage a little bit more of the social media side of things from directly inside the CRM.
Yeah, I mean, it's using, it's parsing, looking for keywords like you're saying. I think you got to be kind of careful if you're doing an auto reply, though.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not. I mean, it allows you to reply directly, and I'm just not. Man, it better be parsing pretty good. You got to have a lot of faith in that before you start automatic, especially since you're now posting to social media on an auto reply, right?
High exposure.
You got to throwing it out there. And we're not done with the news. We had just so much this week. And so moving on here, we've got Zoho Marketplace, all the new extensions that came out in July, and we've got 38 of them. I don't know what to make of this. There's just a whole bunch here. The one thing I'm confused about, Tyler, they talk about here's a list of extensions released in July 2020. And I scroll down and it's got Stripe for Zoho subscriptions. And I don't understand because Stripe, we have had Zoho subscriptions since day one. Stripe is part of Zoho subscriptions.
Yep.
You can collect anything. So I'm kind of curious what they've done here. Have they stripped it out of the core functionality of subscriptions now and put it as a separate? I
I
don't
couldn't
get it because I
imagine.
looked, nothing changed on our end. I didn't have to install anything, and I still have it. Zoho Books for Zoho subscriptions, again, they talk to each other without having to have a marketplace application. So there's some really interesting kind of additions in here that aren't really making a lot of sense to me as to what they really are doing in the marketplace.
Yeah, I do see a couple in here that are pretty slick. They added a Zendesk extension for Zoho
Yeah.
subscriptions. So, Zendesk is a huge ticketing tool. Tons of different companies use that. So being able to answer any tickets related to subscriptions through an extension could be pretty slick. A lot of these, it's just more and more layering on now that it's so much easier to deploy these using Catalyst and Sigma. We kind of talked about a while ago that we were expecting a little renaissance with people developing these, and that's definitely been the case so far.
Yeah, it's some interesting stuff and a lot of stuff here around, for Zoho people. Got a lot of interesting little plugins. And I will tell you, I want a little shout out here. There's a company called Commerciant, and they've got a sync for Sage. So if you're using Sage 100, Sage 200, Sage 300, they've kind of been rolling out these synchronizations. And we actually have one client that's on Sage 100, and we're in the process of that right now, and it looks pretty good so far. So if you've got any kind of ERP synchronization you're looking to do, anybody using Sage Mass 100, 200, 300, or whatever, these guys seem to be doing a good job. And I've noticed their extensions are slowly kind of rolling in
Mm-hmm.
bit by bit as they put them in here. And then there's a whole bunch of new extensions which are powered by Zoho Flow, which is kind of interesting. So you've got Toggle for Zoho Desk powered by Zoho Flow, um, Algira or Allegra. I'm sorry, Allegra for Zoho Desk powered by Zoho Flow. So a whole bunch of different things. They're kind of be curious to dig into some of these and see what they're doing. Are you installing an extension you think that's pre-installing then a Zoho Flow setup?
Could just be that's how they're deploying it. Because at the end of the day, when you build an integration with Zoho Flow, like you're working inside of their graphical interface, but it is just creating an API integration,
Right.
right? So it probably is just installing kind of a pre-baked little Zoho Flow install, right? When you install one of these and just getting it authenticated through the extension interface. But it's probably just a way that they're finding is maybe a little more efficient for their development to just run them through Flow and then deploy them out that way. Wouldn't be surprising. I love working in Flow too, so I don't blame them.
The one I looked at here, and I probably next week want to talk about it, is this Synitic signature for Zoho Mail, which allows you to manage all of your employees' email signatures from one place in Zoho Mail. Kind of cool.
Very cool.
We use a product called WiseStamp to do that, which is great for Gmail. I'm kind of curious to see what this does and what it looks like. But it just keeps coming. 38 new extensions month after month. Every now and it seems like every month there's at least one or two gems we can pull out of there.
Yep.
All right. And what is the beginning of a new month without a whole bunch of financial suite updates? So we have them for books, invoices, subscriptions, and inventory. Books and invoice, we'll kind of start there. Those are almost always the same. You've got some new reports. You've got a reconciliation status report, an inventory aging summary. And then they've got a new thing allowing you to collect payments using payment links. And this is kind of giving you a different view. So they kind of have this already. You can generate a payment link and you can send that payment link to anybody. We do it automatically on virtually everything we do. We build it into a template. We generate the payment link, we drop it into the deal record, and then that payment link's there. So now when you can auto send out an email template that easily has the link and they can just click to pay. This looks to try to make it a little simpler to do that, I think.
Looks like too, it might
nice.
not be tied to an invoice. It looks like it's generating to collect miscellaneous payments from your customers. So I wonder about the relationship here between this payment link and an invoice. If this is just going to go to kind of like a checkout page, a pseudo checkout page, rather than having them view an invoice with a product, right, and a bill to, ship to, all that.
So maybe after they pay, it creates the invoice, you think? Similar to checkout?
Possibly like logging a paid invoice for that person, but where they're not actually paying through an invoice page. Definitely interesting. We'll have to play around with it a little bit.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It seems to me if it's going to generate the link, it's got to have the invoice there because you're actually requesting a specific payment, right? It's not
Looks like
like
it.
subscriptions or checkout where someone can go in, you don't know that they're going to buy it. They buy it, and then it
Mhm.
has to generate the invoice. I don't know. We'll take a look, and then just some random updates for books for iOS and the Windows app, and then you get some. We'll talk about Zoho inventory here in a little bit, but and then pretty much exactly the same thing when you move on to Zoho Invoice because they're so similar. It's really just accept payments using payment links. They're kind of showing it a little bit differently here. Send it in an email, grab the link. You got various things to do it,
Mhm.
and that's kind of anything else jump out at you in these two?
No, it looks like pretty much the same little line items there as in the books updates.
Yeah, and then Zoho subscriptions did get a little bit more. They have got you can now share your hosted payment pages a little bit more. So in the past, you can really only grab a URL link. Now you can embed it as an iframe, or you can have an HTML button called subscribe that they kind of click on and go through. So kind of nice there on the hosted payment pages.
It's really nice to have an iframe, right? Because then you can actually embed that on your own designed page
Right.
rather than having to link out to the full subscriptions page. And you can customize that page too. It's not like their hosted payment pages are ugly, but just being able to embed that right onto your own web page might make designing a little bit easier if you've already
Well,
got some like page templates.
and so we've done it using the direct link and using an iframe, but it breaks the security. So my
Mhm.
guess is this won't break the security. So all of a sudden you're on an unsecure page when you do it that way. I think this. I tell you what I'd love to see on subscriptions is when you have that ability to embed something as a widget, but when you go to the widget, you only get embed code. And I would
Mhm.
love it if you could just get a URL. So you could just, you didn't have to go into a page. You could just send someone a URL and they could, see kind of that, have that really nice interface you get from the subscription widget pages. That would be kind of cool. But this is a nice change. And they've got a whole, you've got some bulk as well. So now you can bulk update subscriptions, payment terms, those kind of things. Pretty nice updates there.
Absolutely.
All right. And let's round it out with Zoho Inventory, your favorite application. There's just so much here. So, this is big updates, kind of rounding up with what's going here in August. QuickBooks integration for the UK edition. This is kind of cool. And I have to say, one of the things I know you guys have talked about a lot is how nice the integration is between Zoho Inventory and Zoho Commerce.
It is.
And it seems like they're even making it better here.
Yeah, and so I think, one of the things that so inventory has a lot of different potential integrations with e-commerce platforms, but a lot of them come with hiccups or kind of restrictions or challenges you'll have to overcome to kind of get everything working well. But Zoho Commerce is very much a um, plug and play solution. You basically spin it up, you tie it into your own inventory account, and you can just choose what inventory items should be available on the site and how they should look. So it's really, really tight that way. And basically, what they've done here is they've added the ability to remove or move different item groups around in Zoho Commerce in relation to Zoho Inventory. So basically, the way that works, you can set up different groups and choose which items they should fetch from. And it's just going to make it a little bit easier to tweak where those items are in the different groups.
And then just, I don't want to talk about everything here, but they do have some really nice things they've done for Shopify as well. So you've got tax handling, but the big one is kind of you scroll all the way down to the bottom here, and you now have instant invoice options for Shopify orders, which is kind of big. And I like that. And I love the fact they keep improving the Shopify integration. I wish they'd do the same for WooCommerce because so many people don't want to pay Shopify's fees. So they're on WooCommerce. If
Mm-hmm.
we could see, I'd like some real native Zoho WooCommerce integration.
Yeah, there's a couple plugins there, but they can come with, again, like we're mentioning, just some hiccups and getting everything dialed in and running properly. So it would be nice to see them build out their own WooCommerce integration, just because it's such a massive platform that so many people use.
Yeah. Anyway, always good stuff. It's always interesting. It seems like they work on all this stuff and then boom, they just drop it all out here on the first week of every month. But good stuff for the finance suite. And let's move on now to the implementation of the week. What do you have for us, Tyler?
Yes, this was one that was a simpler implementation, but one that can be pretty useful for a lot of different people. So it's basically a rollout that allows you to manage specific email mapping to an account record. So it kind of solves the problem where you're generally going to have your email addresses stored at the contact level, so with a person rather than at the company level in the account. And so you might have, in relation to an account, you might have the CEO, the director of sales, and then their billing or accounting department as different contacts, right, that are underneath your account. And one of the problems is you might have a workflow that's running inside of the account that you want to send an email notification to a specific department or person at that company. And by default, this is kind of a tricky thing to do, because all those different classifications of the email addresses are going to be at the contact level. So, you're going to know which one is their accounting department based on maybe the job title or the contact type field that you might have at the contact level. And so basically what we did is we set up a little automation where, you can drop in a couple custom email fields into the account. So for example, you might have a, billing department email address field added to your account. And then we have a script where once a contact is defined as, accounts payable or billing based on a contact type field, we go ahead and write their email address up into the account, into that field, so that you'd be able to use that email address in any of your account level workflows. So in terms of like the spectrum of how hard this is to implement, this one's really quick and painless. It's just a quick script, one workflow, just probably 5 lines of code and this thing will fire off. But it's one of those ones where it just solves a pretty common use case, because so many times where like maybe when an account gets defined as a customer, right, you want to send a couple emails to the different departments of that company. Yeah. And without having those emails actually accessible in the account, you have to start doing a lot more craziness, right? Like writing some type of script that reads a related list and then sends emails through the script and does kind of all this crazy stuff, or you could write those different email addresses just up into the account and then shoot them off through a more standard workflow.
Yeah, dead simple. Nice. Good stuff. We should do that for ourselves as well. I think it's like I say that every week now. I don't know what last week's one was, but I would definitely, whatever that one was, we needed to do that as well. Which one? What was that? I had a couple of people ask about it this week.
Last week?
Yeah. I know, it's so long ago, Tyler.
Feels like a different era. I know 2 weeks ago we talked about the quota reporting.
Yeah. There was something last week that was dead simple and cool. Oh, well, it'll come to us. All righty, let's move on to this week's reads. I'm going to HubSpot again, but this time, wow, this is a monster. I have to say, it's funny. This is written by Allie Decker, and I actually went to her website, and she's freelancer, but she writes for HubSpot. But her rankings for her articles and her views on her articles, she's very proud of it, and she should be. They're just off the charts because these are well worth the read. And this one is the ultimate guide to on-page SEO. And we talk about this. So SEO is search engine optimization. So if you'd like to publish something on your website and just have people find it by doing a regular search without having to use Google Ads or pay for it, well, search engine optimization is what it takes. And this is a 17-minute read and a 17-week implementation. I think by the time you got through it, it's detailed. It really, really does cover everything that you would want to know. What it is, the basic elements of it, and your checklist to go through it. And I think she's got 10 elements and a 17 item checklist, but it's everything you need. And I highly recommend that you spend some time and read this article and start implementing these things. It'll just save you a ton of money. I mean, we have 2 people on staff that do nothing but work on this kind of stuff, Tyler, and it pays off at the end of the day.
Yeah, the less reliant you can be on paid advertising, the better. Just because you could always have someone who would come in and outbid you for your ad spot, but this gives you more of a competitive advantage when it comes to being found. And it's so much more complicated than it used to be. The earlier days of Google and SEO, it was just spam as many keywords in, put as many tags in as you possibly can in the metadata, but it's become a lot more of an art form over time as it's gotten more competitive and as Google has kind of changed how they rank these different posts. So it's not as easy as it used to be good at SEO. Nowadays there's a lot more thought and planning that you got to put into it to really get it right.
There really are. There really are. Anyway, it's a step-by-step guide, and if you get some time, go through this. If you're watching on the YouTube video, see, this is just a continual. I've not stopped scrolling. This article just keeps going and going and going. Anyway, there's a lot here. Great job, Allie Decker, and give it a read. I think you'll like it. Meanwhile, over at Zenatta.com, we've got a nice little article on webhooks and how to use those to help automate some workflows using third-party APIs. Got a video we've posted up on YouTube, which is real simple on creating email templates inside of Zoho campaigns. Sometimes this is more black art than art, but we'll kind of show you how to do those inside campaigns. And then we've dug through and we've found some really nice resource guides. So we found a getting started guide with Zoho Sign. This is nice. Kudos to Wayne, who keeps going out and finding all of these orphan PDFs just lying all over the web I don't know how they're never really aggregated in one place. They're just all over the place. And so we keep finding them. And then we've got one on Zoho Creator and why it's better than spreadsheets, and how if you've got a bunch of stuff on spreadsheets, perhaps you might want to take them off of the spreadsheets and move them into Zoho Creator. And it's basically just a real simple step-by-step guide on how to do that as well. All right. And then that brings us to our application of the week, which is this Zoho BackToWork, which we talked about a little bit earlier. I don't know. Did you have any more to say about this, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be one of those tools. I'd expect them to continue updating this over time, kind of as things go on. But it's a pretty cool little offering that I think is a sign of times to come. I think a lot of different companies, kind of across industries, are going to end up needing an application like this. Whether it's for liability reasons, for responsibility over their employees, and just kind of the general controls that I think are going to need to be in place over time. That I think applications like this are going to be almost end up being a core part of day-to-day operations for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was interesting. I was watching CNBC this morning, and Kramer was interviewing some senator and basically asking him, what are companies supposed to do? Because they're going to get sued. When they bring people back, they're going to get sued no matter what. And they were saying, oh, no, don't worry. They might sue them, but it's not going to happen. But you really do. We live in an environment where you've kind of got to make sure all your bases are covered. And this seems like a real nice documented methodology to say, hey, you know what? We did the best we could, right? We supplied them with all the PPE. We asked all the questionnaires. We had everybody at check-in. We took the temperatures. We provided hand sanitizer. We set up all of our contact tracing internally in the office. We did everything we possibly could. And by the way, here it is all beautifully documented in one place. And at $2 per employee, it's relatively cheap, I think, at the end of the day for what this is going to do. And I imagine it'll just get a little better. But I didn't see this one coming. I didn't see any rumors for this application. Nowhere. It just kind of came out of the blue. So there we go.
Yeah, but I think it could be one that really does see some adoption. I mean, I know there's going to be something a lot of companies need. I haven't seen any software solutions really come out specifically targeted at managing this across the board. I've probably just missed them. I'm sure other companies are doing this as
I
well.
haven't seen it.
But I
I
haven't
think this
seen
is
anything
first.
really targeted specifically for this. And it's not like a little add-on to your HR app that allows you to do a couple of these things. It really is end to end, like almost anything I could come up with that you might want to track, given the way that things are going to have to work when people are going back to the office. They've really done a good job on rolling this out, and I think it could be one that actually sees a ton of usage.
Yeah, I think so too. And we talked last week. I think they said announced 15 million users of their basically the remote working tools. I mean, Zoho's covering this from all angles, and they're doing a good job. And they're giving this away free to the end of the year. So if
Yep.
you just want to, and that may be all people need it for, right? You kind of get it back, and you've established your process and procedure. I mean, a lot of this truly is altruistic on their part.
Yep.
All the remote working tools are still free, all of this kind of thing. So, good stuff. Hey, and then the tips and tricks of the week. I'm kind of cheating here a little bit, but we have had a post up. It's actually a page on our website for a very, very long time, and it's something we send out to all of our clients. So when our clients come in, they actually get a portal with us, and in the portal they can go ahead and book meetings and open tickets. But we also include a set of 18 videos that we've kind of curated from Zoho. And these are really well done videos from Zoho about, we've got one on CRM administration, and we have the one just on the 9 basics of Zoho CRM. At least that's what I've kind of highlighted. Here are your 9 basic training videos, things you might want. And I put this together a while ago, but it's kind of a hidden page and it's not really available anywhere unless you're kind of a client, but I wanted to get it out there. So these are quick little 5-minute videos, and they start with, you've got a CRM overview, and you've got adding a lead to your CRM, lead tracking, converting a lead. We're talking basics, then getting your email integrated, your reports and dashboards, document management, how to set up your activities in Home tab, how to personalize those, and then a video just on resources. So, where do you find things in Zoho, and how can you go get anything? Like I say, really tight videos. We've got them popping out in the light box. They only take a few minutes to go through. Highly recommend it. Like I say, they're no more than 5 or 6 minutes a piece, and worth taking a look at. So it's kind of 9 tips and tricks all in one. It's like a bonus there, Tyler.
Get some freebies this week.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, sir. And with that, I guess we will wrap it up. As always, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us over at info@zenatta.com, or you can just head over to the website and click on drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. You can also follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.